Welcome everybody to a new cover request. Today it's time for another artist, something different, something maybe exciting, and it's the microphones with the Glow Part 2. Right now it's a beautiful Saturday outside, it's snowing, the first time snowing this year, and it's cold outside. And right here, I think that the kind of like the album cover of this one is really suits kind of like a campfire there with this elephant, and it's night outside in this forest. It looks really cozy. Um, I don't know if this album is gonna be like that. I guess it's going to be folk because I know Mount Erie. I've never really listened to Mount Erie though as a solo artist. I guess because right here it's a band, right? And Mount Erie is like I know this one album, which is like the story about his death of his wife or something, and I don't know. I know the story, but I never wanted to listen to that because of obvious reasons. But right here, it's kind of nice to go in the bed before Mount Erie. So the frontman who also does Mount Erie is I think called Phil Elverum or something like that, or something like that. But well, let's just get right into this one right here. There are two requested albums of the microphones. I'm going to do the Mount Erie the microphones album after this one. Um, so yeah, pretty exciting. Um, the person who requested this wanted to do this in this order. Like he asked to do first the Glow Part 2 and then Mount Erie. I don't know why. Maybe there are some reasons fans want that like that. I don't know. But well, I don't know. Just let's just jump right into it, right? I don't have anything to add. I don't know what to expect. I kind of guess it's going to be like a maybe a folk album, maybe a little bit cozy. I don't know. Let's see what the. So maybe it's not going to be cozy. This is a concept album detailing Phil Elverum's, okay, he's Elverum, feelings and thoughts during and after a tough breakup with his girlfriend. Oh, okay. So it's a breakup album. I haven't listened to a breakup album in a probably pretty long time. So pretty exciting. In a different way. So right here, we got a couple of tracks, 20 tracks. Some are a little bit longer, right? Some are a little bit shorter. That's all right. So let's just get right into it. And yet now into the first track. And the first track is called I Want Wind to Blow. Let's go.
Clouds broke up and the rain dried up. The lightning let up. The clacking shutters just shut up.
Very nice. I talked about that it's maybe going to be cozy. Right now, I don't have the feeling, or that the first track just jumps straight into the concept. Maybe it's just going to the setting, maybe of this album, because we here get the setting of thunderclouds break up, and the rain dried up. It's not raining anymore. The lightning and the clacking shutters just shut up, and then it's silent, like the silent after storm. Maybe also like the silence after a tough argumentation with girlfriends and stuff, if you know what I mean. And then it goes into like silence after that. This kind of also a little bit annoying silence. But that's not the same as on the song right here. It's silent, it's smooth, it gives you time to get into the sound. There are like 2 or 3 guitars layered. It's very layered, very beautiful sound. And we have some really lo-fi drums in the back that then got a little bit louder right here in the instrumental one. And Phil really sounds great. he has such a very smooth voice, kind of like reminds me of some Elliott Smith stuff that we did. Um, I hope I'm not the only one who gets the feeling of Elliott Smith while listening to this one right here. And it's beautiful though. I like the mixing, sounds beautiful. Let's move on.
The sound of cars, the smell of bars, the awful feeling of electric heat.
So I had a lot of things right here to go through. First, I want to start with the second verse. I really like the setting he describes right here and the way he does. The sound of cars, the smell of bars, the awful feeling of electric heat. Like, he explains so many things that you can smell, maybe hear, maybe feel. Like all the different senses of humans, and you can really kind of get into a really feeling. And I love this stuff when artists do that, because you can really get into the music while feeling it. Maybe it's great, and I like how he does it right here. And then the bridge comes in, I want wind to blow, and he stretches so much to the eye, and even then his voice gets layered on the left and right and gets this really beautiful sound. Want wind to blow, and so on. My clothes is off me, sweep me off my feet. Like, he just wants wind to blow. And I would think about, some people don't like wind, but I personally like when I'm like on vacation or something in a place where it's maybe a little bit colder, and you just get a fresh breeze of air. You know what I mean? And just straight into your face. And it's really, especially on the ocean or something, it's really refreshing, and I love it. But I kind of get the feeling from this right here. And then some typical also Elliott Smith does because Elliott Smith also does some stuff. I mean, this is after Elliott Smith, but I don't think they have any center things in common, in my opinion. Like, the mixing is a little bit different while taking the same lo-fi ideas. The drumming right here, coming in with those percussions, are amazing, by the way. But my favorite part so far on this run right here is the accordion coming in as a transition from the third to the fourth verse. Really, sometimes sounds like the self-titled Elliott Smith album, which is maybe his most personal. So I really get the kind of same feeling. A beautiful, but also cold and really thoughtful feeling. I don't know why. It's a great track. But I mean, it's just the first track. We're not even half through this track right here. Let's move on. I even got goosebumps out of these last instrumentals right then. That doesn't happen often listening to music, to be honest, but that's amazing right here. The fourth verse is beautiful, but there's no hope for me, I've been set free. It's interesting getting that into contrast, and then there is no breeze. Like, there's no hope, there's no breeze, there's no ship on my sea. So he's free, he wants to get into the ocean, maybe on a different land, somewhere else, but there's no ship that gets him across. And that's beautiful put on contrast right there and getting to his thoughts. Maybe he wants to be on this ocean and want wind to blow so he can move on. Maybe that's why I Want Wind to Blow is the title of this track. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful, man. Wow. There's a transition maybe into the second track. I wanted to stop here because right now it went into the second track, but I always stop before that. Like it stops automatically. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this. I'm going to get it a little bit back so we can get the transition maybe there. But this is heavy. The part where then the noisy instrumentals, it's not really noisy, it's not loud, it's not grating to your ears, if you know what I mean. It's this beautiful pressure of sound. And there are so many layers. You can hear some distant reverb pianos in the back, but these like noise drums, and it's just this heavy percussion, so much going on. Sonic evolution, heavy evolution, and the sizzling drums, sizzling hi-hats, and there are these shakers also. These beautiful guitars that just like move up from the beginning of the track till the end beautifully, and it's beautiful orchestrated, beautifully put out. The songwriting is amazing, the lyrics. Alright, for this track it's time to get us into something really special. So yeah. This one gets into my monumental playlist right there. That's great. That's a great track. That's more than a 10. So yeah. I mean, I will give every track of this album a little bit of more listens, but yeah, we'll see. But I think that first track is perfect. So let's move on to the next track, to the second track, which is called The Glow Part 2, the title track. So let's get back a little bit into the last track so we get the transition, if there is one. Let's see.
Shirt off in the yard. No one saw that the sea stopped. I could not get through September without a battle. I face death. I went in with my arms swinging.
There's a lot to go through right here in the first 2 minutes of this track. Heavy transition. Maybe it just wants to slap you right into your face. So, reality, bam. And then the first verse, I took my shirt off in the yard. No one thought that the skin on my shoulders was golden. What does that mean if your shoulders are golden? I don't know. No, it's not. My shirt's back on. I forgot my songs. The glow is gone. My gliding body stopped. Okay. The glow is gone. So maybe it's the glow part 2. There's maybe a glow part 1. So maybe a glow is something other humanly, something he thinks is there or something. something like the glow. This could be meaning so many things. I'm wondering. And then no, it's not. My shirt's back on. So maybe it's about something significantly different. I took my shirt off in the yard, and now not. So it's something of change. Something bad happened. Maybe like a golden shower, something. Maybe something positive, and now not. And then the second verse. I could not get through September without a battle. I faced death. I went in with my arms swinging. All right, let's move on. I think we'll get into that in the second verse if we go in a little bit more. Let's go.
My blood flows harshly. My heart beats loudly.
At first, I want to talk about the sound a little bit. I was talking about like the punch at the beginning, all the instruments, grating guitars, heavy drum percussions. It's like rolling, and it's like almost like panic. It's panic and it's packed. It's heavy. It's distorted, and it wants to punch you to the face with that beginning for real. And then there came in these beautiful guitars again. But you can hear it in his voice, in Phil's voice. He's in kind of like a pain. And then it goes into the second verse, which talking about I faced death. But it doesn't mean he's dead, because by I heard my own breath and I'm still flesh. I hold on to awful feelings. I'm not dead. There's no end. My face is red. My blood flows harshly. And how maybe he just thought he was dead because he just wants to talk to you, Derek. I feel dead. Not I am dead, I feel dead. Maybe that's because he faced death. And then my blood flows harshly and his voice gets really loud, and then my chest still draws breath. I hold it. Maybe he holds it because he don't want to breathe or something like that. But it's heavy. This writing on the second verse is really heavy and it gets to you. But my face is red. So he's like really maybe also in anger. And his blood flows harshly, like maybe he's in anger. It's interesting how he writes this. I'm still a little bit wondering in what way he is in such a condition, if you know what I mean. But yeah, right here there is like a percussion building again, and maybe in this last instrumental. So let's see where this heads to. What a track. At the end, it even doesn't even feel like folk anymore. Maybe the drums still, but even they got some distorted hi-hats. The percussion is heavy. There's so many instrumentals coming in. There's also so much detail in the minimalistic kind of percussion that this track has. But my favorite part about that last part right now, thing right there, was just the beautiful guitar. These beautiful little chords that get into that. They're beautiful. The melody at the end just gets you, especially after the second verse right there. And I'm really in love with with these two tracks right here. Um, I will go a little bit back again. Like I'm going to do it maybe at every track right here. There are a lot of transitions and sonic cuts between the tracks. But yeah, I loved that. Beautiful instrumental at the end. Maybe a little bit. How do you get that? Maybe a little bit Midwest emo like with those melodies, but not entirely. Because the vocals are anything different, or any very different than that. But let's see what the third track got for us. The third track is called The Moon. We go a little bit back and let's see what the third track got for us. Let's go. Oh no, I forgot. Right here's the second track. I think you might guess, but again, perfect. Perfect stuff right here. I'm a little love. So let's move on.
I drove up to the city and found a place where you we stayed and walked around and stayed up late under city lights. I spent that with you.
Wow, what a beautiful transition from the first sound that we heard a couple times on this record. I mean, the main part of this album is sound are these very layered guitars and stereoized everywhere, and just a beautiful atmosphere to begin with. Which are these guitars sound so unique in a way that I really like it and gives this album a really unique sound in general. And then you can hear the sticks, and I knew, oh wait, there's something coming, but they sound like some accordions just stretched almost like a synth, which sounds very interesting. And well, Phil is like very silent in the back. I drove up to the city and I found the. He's very silent and like he is in this little corner just singing in front of him, while everything around him just is so fast and wow. And the thing he right here explains really sounds like a typical day with maybe his girlfriend and stuff. I drove up to the city at night and found the place where you grew up and then where you stayed and so on. Next to you, miraculously woke up in your parents' house. I lied in bed with you. So maybe we now get more deeply into the concept or directly the theme. But yeah, beautiful sound right here. Jesus, man, this track is awesome. This is great songwriting. How he explains while he is in this relationship, he hears this furious sound, the roar of waves, the pounding surf, intenseness to be there next to you, and yeah, it's just great songwriting in this concept. And then the chorus, I went back and wished I hadn't. I went back and felt regret. I went to the beach and I stared west. This is just perfect. Yeah, this is perfect songwriting. And I love these accordions on this track. I mean, there's, I think, one stretched which has this grating sound. There's a texture in the back on the like two chords on this track, and then sometimes there come in all the other accordions, and it sounds amazing. Like there is so much noise also in the drums and in the percussion and stuff, but it feels so soft, but also not. It feels longing and like reflecting, and yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect track. Perfect. Also, last chorus right there, where at the end it just very fastly fades into just this ambience and this one very soft little whatever that noise that was. It was very silent, but it was just perfect ambience right there. I don't know if it's transition into the next track, Headless Horseman, but yeah, that's the beautiful chorus. I went out last night to forget that. I went out and stared it down, but the moon just stared back at me. Like what? I mean, what did he expect into staring into the moon? I just guessed. And in its light, I saw my 2 feet on the ground. I'm just really wondering, but this is so interesting songwriting. I want to get more deeper into this, but I guess I have to do that with further listens. But I will do that 100%. I will probably give this countless of listens or something. Beautiful track. I'm gonna go a little bit back and then we go into the next track. But the moon right here is a 10. So let's see what the fourth track got for us. Headless Horseman. Let's go.
If you swing again, I'll duck. But I wish you the best of luck. You deserve yourself.
It's a very sonic change right now. The sound is a lot more silent, reserved, but it's also darker and it gets a lonely feeling across right here. A headless horseman. So it's just a horse without a head. Because if you think about like horsemen, they are like they have their head at the front torso, if that makes sense. So as a headless horseman, then that's quite kind of weird imagery right here. But I enjoy this approach of a more singer-songwriter based on only one guitar, only one voice. And I love the way he sings. He has this really beautiful voice right here. And I got hit hard, I'm on the ground, and if you swing again, I'll duck. And I return from my trip to hell as a headless horseman. So he didn't duck, right? You deserve yourself. It's also really interesting. Great track. Let's move on.
My soft hands replaced by claws. You turn me into a stray dog from a mighty human man. Oh, what a loss.
Right here it talks about like himself, how maybe his girlfriend that he doesn't have again, like he talking about, oh what a loss. And then my soft hands replaced by claws. You turned me into a stray dog from a mighty human man. This is such great songwriting and imagery, how he felt. Like, I think this is now after, it's not during, right? I mean, he's talking about a loss. Yes, it's great.
I miss my closest friend. Now I cling to rocks in wind. It's a precious thing we lost.
Like the last part right here, in the songwriting, I miss my closest friend. And now I cling to rocks and wind. It's a precious thing we lost. It's a very good songwriting. I don't know, I can't tell you anything different. I mean, obviously it talks just about how at the same time he is very different from a human side, like a stray dog from being a mighty human man, and then into that he misses his closest friend. That's so heavy. And then at the end there are these ambient little gongs or bells again as a pad or as a texture, and it reappears from the third track, The Moon. That's just great. Right here again I'm feeling a 10. So let's move on with the fifth track, which is called My Roots Are Strong and Deep. This is the most harsh track on this album so far, with those lo-fi heavy instruments, and there's so much weird feedback on this. That sounds very muffled, like on a very old tape recorder and stuff, and it's very interesting mixed, and I just like how this sounds. Going to the songwriting, it's pretty different. I forgot to go here onto the next song. Is it here called Instrumental 1? It's not true, right? No, I'm dumb. Here we are. My roots are strong and deep and swaying in your breeze. My limbs stretch out to meet you. But compared to you, I'm small. Now, this is a great track. I like this one, but with so many instrumental changes right here, it's so different again, which makes this album very diverse and unique. But let's see where else this track gets. There was also a really weird little experimental side on the last part, where it kind of sounds like the tape got cut or flipped, maybe. I don't know, something in between that. But yeah, I enjoyed this track. It's pretty different, and overall it's maybe not as my favorite track right now or this far, but just the whole sound of this album and the concept just really grabs me right here. It's a 9. So let's move on with the next track, which is just called Instrumental, and it's an instrumental, of course. Let's go. This little instrumental right here is so big while it's so short. Um, these perfect mixed, flanged, and pitched, but also weirdly panned guitars at the beginning were so good, which then resolve and move on, which then revolves into this very different kind of part where the drums came in and such like huge instrumentations, and that's just perfect songwriting with there, and just moving on in the concept. It's amazing. So yeah, very good track again. Just a little instrumental. It's so good. It really surprises me all over this album so far how good this is, and yeah. Let's just move on to the next track, which is called The Mansion.
There's no end, there's no glory. There's a slow, resounding story. There's no place to feel certain. There's nobody waiting for me. There's no stand of trees. No morning. There's a curve without a warning.
Damn, such a heavy track. It just starts with these tripled guitars with muffled sound, very lo-fi, but every little guitar is so distant. It's like a little cloud in the sky. It's amazing. This right here, the mansion. It sounds very old, muffled. Like if you are in this very dark old mansion and go in there and it's mold everywhere. It's maybe smells. And then there's the songwriting. There's no end. There's no glory. There's a slurry sounding story. There's no place to feel certain. There's nobody waiting for me. So right here in this concept, you have fallen pretty deep into a kind of like a hole. And great songwriting all over this one. I enjoy it. It's really great. Let's move on.
Solid between the treasure and the shovel. I see and I see a fountain. There's a trail over the mountain. There's no wayside, there's no stopping, and the peak is wide and rocky. There's no ceiling in the mansion. There's no waste, no hesitation. There's no crack of dawn, no morning, just an everlasting warning.
I'm really interested if they really recorded that in a mansion, because there is a reverb sound. Like they recorded it in a big room. It would be interesting to know. And then at the end you even hear how the band stands up from their chairs, maybe where they played. And it's an interesting sound overall. There are also some, like, they reverse some sounds, they recreate some sounds. It's really interesting mixed again, but I don't know why, but just like the songwriting messes with me. Going into like, there's no this, there's no that, and there's no that, and then it just ends with just an everlasting warming. It's a great track. Maybe also goes into the album cover, like an everlasting warming, like this little fire that's in the elephant lights up. Great track. feeling something between a 9 and a 10 on that one. So let's move on with the next track, which is just called Something. It's like a little depressing soundtrack right here of a very dark movie in a way. Um, those very painful strings that are in the back, and then they have these center strings, those very deep played ones, and this whole track is just very heavy and yeah, very good. I just got it rolling to the next Something track. Both very different from another. The one very silent and depressive, and the other one is very harsh and loud and depressing in a way, because both has some experimental sides of ambience and drones and stuff. But the second one just like with a bass drone comes in, and it's so abrasive, heavy, and damn, uh, those are really dark. But it really interests me also how they recorded this main noise sound of the second Something track. Uh, but yeah, great track, great two tracks right there. Let's move on to this next track with the 10th track, which is called I'll Not Contain You.
I won't look for you in my room. I'll reach my lost. Through rotting skin, I'll leave my coffin. Through calloused work, I will grow soft.
It's a more of a reserved track, but comes back to some conventional sides and ideas of this album we had before, was the same kind of like layered guitars, but the vocals are very different on this one. It's more like he's speaking in front of a blanket and more stuff, or he's more far away from the microphone. I don't know. And then I'll not contain you. I won't look for you in my room. So he's right now maybe speaking to himself, I don't need her, or stuff like that, if you know what I mean. And I mean, it's normal that you come to a point like that. I can see that So things like that happen. But he's like, I won't look for you in my room. Then the lengthy talks are not continuous. Through trembling arms I reach my loft. My eyes never and stuff, and so on. Though calloused work I will grow soft. Interesting. I've been wondering, how can you explain that track? How can you explain this music right here? If you know what I mean. It's so different, it's so alien-like, it's coming from a really dark place. You can get that, but into a songwriting like that, it's just so heavy. My eyes narrow on a light, a blurry face where we hotly radiate. Things are not concrete there, and we fastly glide. So yeah, we reached the half point of this album, and I gotta tell you, this album is just very heavy, and I even found it like hard to talk about like some on this stuff right here, and songwriting and just the sound. It's really hard to talk about, but it's effective, and yeah, sometimes it's even hard to listen to, but well, yeah. We gotta move on, right? And this is just perfect. So yeah, on the last couple of tracks, they all were perfect. So let's move on with the 11th track, which is called the Gleam. The Gleam Part 2. Yeah, that one was really good. The Gleam Part 2, very different sound coming into this one. After we had like 5 tracks which were very experimental and just working with guitars, we had some of these weird bells. I can't remember how they are called. Which can be played from like this bowl in different sides. I can't remember how it's called. Which is a very weird but perfect choice for this album and that track, the Gleam Part 2. So the gleam must be something similar as the glow, right? So this track also feels pretty angry, going from the beginning. It's stomping beat and stuff, and the heavy percussion. And yeah, that one just works in a very harsh way. And also, I was wondering what he talks about, like, I saw tiny lines and mountainous peaks. I saw your future in my sleep. Let's move on with the next track, which is called Map. 12th track, I guess. Let's see what they got for us. Let's go. had to stop right here. Jesus, this track. This is one of the best tracks I've ever heard. Moving on from the last track, about right there at the end where it talks about this dream he can see, who is about the future of their relationship or something like that. And then it gets to these heavy lo-fi sound at the beginning. There are also some female backing vocals with them together, which makes this perfect duo right here. And it's like some movie where he is in the I don't even know how to explain that, but I had this thought of how he is in her dream as her in the stuff, and because of that there are these duplicated vocals of a female voice and his voice, and it's like a movie, because then there come in these soundtrack like 40s and 50 movie like heavy stuff, folky stuff even maybe, in which are very different in the sound that I've never heard, which maybe then after that just disappears in the mist of noise. And then goes only into the second verse, open hands on the span of the sweating soap over massive rounds. This track is way too heavy, my god. But it makes sense in the track list right here, and it's perfect. Yes, that's one of the most heaviest folk tracks I've ever heard, with some different aspects, but also the last portion right there, this is like peak music. Perfect. Yeah, I don't even know what to talk about like on that track. But let's move on with the 13th track, which is called You'll Be in the Air. Let's go.
Lost in the other passengers on the plane, but if you just moved your arms, then you could tell that you are in the air. You'd feel the yawning gulf grow wider. You'd feel the dwindling fuel for your lungs, and your breaths would slow. The cold river basin where we spend the night, and again your gaping gap is pink and foggy light. When I wake up, your pat will pounce on me. I'll meet the day. You'll be in the air. I'll be in your bed when I'm awake. Feel my hot lungy wind.
Just, what is this band? This is nothing like anything I've ever listened to. This is like a new discovery for me right here. So the person who requested this, you're a genius. Wow. Like, it's some really singer-songwriter, like it's pretty laid back at the beginning. you'll be in the air and stuff. And some of us, you will be over the sea, lost in other passengers on the plane. But if you just moved your arms, then you could tell that you are in the air. I'm just like thinking about what does he mean with like being in the air. You smoothly glide over the Cloud River Basin where we spend the night. It's something, it feels like they are free but aren't, but she is in the air or something. Because he tells like you, so that's interesting. I'll be in your bed when I am awake. But it feels so damn depressing. I don't know why. I'm so torn on this one. But like also instrumentally, where then it breaks down into this bridge. It's the most perfect instrumental way they possibly could do that. And Phil just shouts out these things like with so much power and emotion. It's heavy.
In the air, you'll bear fruit, your bare feet, your bare arms. In the heat, you'll be able to feel your mind.
No, that's a perfect track. Wow. Also, he gets often back to this one instrumental, to this like bowl bell thing. I really forgot how that instrument is called. Damn. I have to remember it. I don't remember. But yeah. And it's like in this noisy filter, and it really adds up as a very weird sound perfectly. But I'm just like still wondering about this songwriting, but it works. So let's move on with the next track, with the 14th track, which is called I Want to Be Called. And on this track, I'm feeling a 10. Let's move on.
It's raining on me. I hope it happens soon. I can deal with feeling this bad.
Now I maybe kind of get what the previous track means. It probably means you'll be in the air. Like he watches her leaving in the air, flying away, being free, while he stays there where he is, and he just wants to be cold. It's raining on me. I don't want it to stop. I don't want to breathe anymore. I want water to rise and to cover all the land. I want to swim there till my arms give out and I come to an end. I hope it happens soon. I can't deal with feeling this bad. I want to be cold and I want it to snow so bad. I want to be buried in snow. I hope your flames don't grow. Yeah. Let's move on with the next track, which is called I Am Bored, the 15th track.
Or a hole so deep my leak poured out torrentially. But now I'm bored. My bloody flow is slowed so I can be bored near you. Live hand me through.
I think that I Am Bored is conceptually a little bit in a different location maybe than we were before. Talking about like maybe being with his girlfriend together and being bored and want to get through to her maybe, for example, locked in contact on the couch with you, or boring face, we're losing touch. I reached an extended hand, went through, though he couldn't even touch her. And in that way, it's perfectly just written. And yes, the sound also makes sense at the end, getting more noisy and stuff. Going into no, we both know what we have to do, like break up. That makes sense. I don't know if there. I would have maybe missed maybe this transition in between this album. Maybe this is like the point really where they broke up and they haven't broke up before this. Maybe I don't know if it's like in a certain time way, if you know what I mean. So yeah, let's move on to the next track, which is called I Felt My Size.
The heat from the closeness of me tilting towards the sun was storing up to ignite at night and light.
Before we go into the real side of this track, I like how far back it is at first. Like, it feels so. How do you explain that? It just feels so lonely and but also atmospheric in a way. Like, those guitars were pretty silent. They were not taking too much of this track, but then they came in these fast drumming and you get, oh, something is happening, and the harshness comes in. It's heavy, it is depressive, and it's just so heavy. Like, these guitars are even maybe like some really harsh slacker rock or something, and maybe even noise rock sometimes. They use much compression, so much bass, and it's just so abrasive. I can't even explain this sound of. I'm getting to my borders right here, to my. This is the best I can do, that I can explain it. But we can go further into the songwriting. I felt my size. If you can feel your size, that's in a way you feel small, maybe to some other people, maybe to just yourself or just in this world. Sometimes it's just in this depressive and lonely feeling of then somebody maybe treated you in a very harsh way, and they seem so big and you so small, and you just really feel your size. Yeah, I can feel this. This is heavy. This is good stuff.
I looked down and felt motion under me. When I looked out across the freeway at the people flying by, I turned my head, I closed my eyes, I felt my size. I recall, but I'm small, I'm not big at all. I'm small, we're all.
And then again, the ambience coming in, sometimes even in between the track, like when we were at this last verse, somewhere around here, you can hear the ambience again crawling on this texture of this track as a sometimes I didn't even know what I'm talking about, but there's just something about this album that just feels so fucked up. And then it's about my one-sided bombs. I just wanted more. But I'm small. I'm not a planet at all. I'm small. And then there also were some of these like female vocals again, very shortly in the outro at the beginning. But then again, but I'm small. I'm not a planet. I'm small. And he just like shouts that out. And he feels it. The whole track, his vocals just feel. You can feel his angst, that he's anxious in the way. And it's just perfect in the songwriting. Also, I like this part. When I looked out across the freeway at the people flying by, like also, "You Be in the Air" was also in the track where he was talking about how her girlfriend went flying away, and then he sees also other people flying by, and I turned my head, I closed my eyes, I felt my size. Maybe he can't fly like these other people. Yeah, that's the perfect track again. Let's move on with the next track, which is the second instrumental of this album. Let's see. As this instrumental was perfect. It has the kind of same chord progressions as the previous track, I Felt My Size, just in a way, more depressive way, and playing the piano in a very, very distinct and dark way, with those very dark keys. And then at the end there were these little vocals, perfect instrumental, just keeps the whole feeling through this album. And I mean, you can see that I can hardly like get my points across or get my words together, because this is heavy stuff. It's hard to talk about. There's so much in the songwriting and just like of feelings that came in this music right here, and yeah, it's perfect. So let's move on with the next track, which is called I Felt Your Shape.
I thought I felt your shape, but I was wrong. Really, all I felt was falsely strong. On your birthday in that kitchen, my grip was loose, my eyes were open. I felt your shape and heard you breathing. I felt the rise and fall of your chest. I felt your fall, your winter snows, your gusty blow. By this new depth I don't think I ever felt. But I don't know, my nights are cold, and I remember warmth.
let's talk about this, right? I had to take a moment just because these two tracks are way too heavy. Um, First, I felt your shape. Beautiful track. Um, Feeling someone you kind of miss while he or she is not there, right? Maybe sometimes you have these days you're just laying in your bed and you can maybe gripping around your pillow or something like that. You know what I mean? And just like laying there. And some days you have this feeling, well, this could be my significant other right now, something like that, if you know what I mean, right? So yeah, it goes into themes like that. My I felt you shape. It's a great track. I don't even know what to talk about right now. I'm so messed up. I don't know why. I felt you for. Whoever requested this album, you're a beautiful and a horrible person. Because this album really messes with you. It's not a album you really enjoy, but you see just the greatness. And the fact that it can mess with you makes this perfect. Does that make sense? Or maybe also, why these two tracks right here are mixed together. While when I was talking about like I felt your shape, I always like thought about the second track that came after this, like maximum loneliness. Like I felt your shape, maximum loneliness. She's not there anymore, right? You have to live with that. And then Samurai Sword, about obviously maybe something like suicide or something, because you want my blood all over your face. Feeling still. Right? You know what I mean? And I got that. I mean, you hear the song and you instantly know what's up. And you see the title, Samurai Sword. Like, samurai swords are always like also used for harakiri and seppuku and stuff and things like that, if you know what I mean. And it's maybe also about that stuff, going into this concept as a samurai sword. And yes, the songwriting tied to that is perfect. I've got a samurai sword meant for you, polar bear. I've got a grisly look in my eye. You aim to drag me back down underground to gorge. You want my blood all over your face, but I'm plummeting so branches towards you now. Feeling still, Samurai Phil. And the next track is called My Warm Blood. Let's move on.
Power still out. Oh, it's cold. My blood barely flows. Oh, my red blood is warm still.
Well, The fact that you can hear I Want Wind to Blow in the back right now means that just his life is flashing before his eyes before he dies in this forest right here where his blood flows from the damage he made himself with a samurai sword. You can hear it again. It's a beautiful sound of the first track, I Want Wind to Blow. Well, why is this right here fades out, I guess, in the last 4 minutes. Let's talk a little bit about the sound. You can hear the tape recorder right here, and it's kind of like an end. The end credits rolling of this masterpiece I've just listened to. It was messed up. It was kind of like hard to react to this one. And I mean, a review is always, I can do that. But I mean, the fact you can see me while reacting and listening to this, you see every piece of, that was it again, every piece of just my thoughts, my first listen, and how it affected me. And I can tell you, this album right here, it hit me hard. I mean, everybody went through things he went through right here. So Phil, I mean, let me talk about Phil. And in a way, he sees this in a very different way. It's maybe not just a relationship that, or the breakup that hit him. I mean, yes, it hits you. But for me, it never hit me that hard, but because if it's not working, it's not working, right? But right here, it's like death. And in a way, there's something more behind it. But some people are like that. They feel more tied to other people. Like if they break the bond, it's like something really heavy, something really important is just cut and is flying away. Like You'll Be in the Air. Great track. It's one of my favorites. But also the 18th track, I Felt Your Shape. Such a heavy track, which is maybe the most graphic track about like loneliness, and that is the last really conventional track because after that is Samurai Sword. It's pretty heavy. Yeah, there are like, there's only 1 minute left. I'm gonna fade it all in that. Map, such a harsh track, but such a lovely track also. I loved that one. You'll Be in the Air, I talked about that. These untitled and instrumentals even are perfect. Nothing to skip over. Sometimes you have your favorites on the albums, but I can't even tell what my favorite is right here on this album. But I gotta tell you, the first track, I Want Wind to Blow, is the most beautiful track I've heard in a long time. But also the second and the third, it's Glow Part 2 and The Moon. And Headless Horseman, such a dark and silent track. I'm surprised that I can remember any and every track of this album so far. And you can hear the last heartbeats before the album stops. And that's the end. It's a masterpiece. I give you some extra thoughts soon. So yeah, nothing that big right here. No huge extra thoughts because I think I pulled everything out while I talked on my first listen. Nothing really changed. Every track is still a masterpiece. Get me? The whole tracklist is really fucked up. I mean, in a good way. It really gets the main kind of issue with mental issues just across, if you know what I mean. It's just you in a way. You don't have to be like that, but it just happens, right? And it can be at or in any situation. Like this, for example, a breakup. But it can be anything. Or just like the state in general and stuff like that. And right here, he explained that in this concept album, which is very surreal in a way sometimes, even philosophic, abstract, because you got something very direct and weirdly way too overblown pictures in front of you. But I mean, music has to be like that. It's overblown. It's not like the reality. This is way more heavier because, for example, sometimes he just like straight up talks about like I face death and so many other things. So many tracks are just stuck in my head. I'm gonna point out a few right here. First track, I Want Wind to Blow. It's a perfect track. It's my favorite of this album right here. It's the first track really gets you into the concept, the feeling, and everything. Headless Horseman is, in my opinion, the most beautiful singer-songwriter track I've heard ever. That one is just, it's different. Map is so abstract, so heavy. It's like the most heaviest noise rock. And if I would put it into no genre, for me, I would call it noise folk. That makes sense, if you know what I mean. There are so many good abstract experimental cuts. The untitled tracks, Something 1 and 2, or just instrumentals. The Mansion is so eerie. You can't really grip how they recorded that. It's in this weird eerie hall, like there are spider webs everywhere. It's this broken down old house, and then he sings about like his issues and just the things he thinks about, and it's great. Tracks like The Moon with that really great lyrics, the beautiful sound, the accordions. Yeah, there's so many things to pull out right here. I could just talk for hours about this album. The second track, The Globe Tattoo, do not forget that track. It's a beautiful track, but very harsh and gets you right into the harsh reality of the overblown reality of this album, right at the second track. Or if we go into the last bit of this album with I Am Bored, for example, which is the most like straight up in the time center beginning of the idea of this concept, like sitting on the couch, being bored, looking into a bored face, and you can't even touch it, you reach through their skin, and it's just amazing songwriting all over this album. Also the last instrumental, the second instrumental, the 17th track is just plain beautiful. That one with further listens grabs me every time at the last track, from the last conventional tracks, because the last three tracks, I Felt Your Shape, Samurai Sword, and My Warm Blood, are very different from each sound in every different corner they want to put your feelings on as an finale to this album. Because I Felt Your Shape has one of the most beautiful songwriting guitars, or just one guitar, and just in general sound. It really gets to you. Also with the concept of feeling a shape that isn't there anymore, and then going into the Samurai Sword, and then like also talking about, for example, at the beginning of this album where he faces death, when he's just like talking about death as something very extreme, but not straight up into that, and then in Samurai Sword he really talks about death and how he cuts with a samurai sword, if you know what I mean, and the blood just explodes everywhere. And then the 20th track, the last track, My Warm Blood, straight up just talks about his last moments with flashing eyes. You can hear a heart pumping and a tape recorder noise coming into like where you in the back hear the first track, I Want Wind to Blow, and kind of like is something like that his life flashes before his eyes. So it's a perfect concept album. It's a perfect album. The Glow Part 2 by the Microphones is a 10. So yeah, I think I got everything out I wanted to talk about when talking about this album right here, I guess. And you don't have to wait long if until I do Mount Erie. I don't know what to talk about. See you on the next album, Mount Erie.